Okay, guys, listen. I'm gonna come out and say it. There's something that doesn't smell right about the prosecutors on the case, and it's disappointing to me because don't want to see what happened to P. Diddy happen in this case. And that's what I feel like might happen. And let me explain why. Okay, let's backtrack a minute. Let's go back in time to when they first discovered Celeste Rivas Hernandez, when they first discovered her in David's trunk. Okay? What did the police say? Remember what the police and the ones investigating all this, remember what they told us? That, well, there's no evidence that an actual murder occurred. You know what I mean? She could have just dropped dead of natural causes. It's a total normal thing for 14-year-olds just to die out of nowhere. It's totally normal. She was probably just on drugs. She's in the Hollywood Hills. She's probably on drugs. She probably overdosed. The only crime that we see evidence that has been committed is the mishandling of human remains. You all remember that? Remember when they were telling us all that? Now they want us to believe that they were investigating him for sleeping with Celeste before she was murdered. They actually expect us to effing believe any of that crap. Like, I don't believe that for one goddamn second. The LAPD, with all the sex trafficking going on there, all the times people have sought justice for children with these fuckers, and they don't do. I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe they were investigating for nothing. First of all, if they were, and Celeste was their star witness, as they're claiming now, why didn't her family know about this? Why didn't they know about this? They were on the internet, like her brother and her sister were on the internet. They clearly didn't seem to, unless I missed something, it didn't seem to me, there was no impression of there being like an investigation. Like, dude, yeah, well, we had talked to the cops and they were in the middle of investigating him sleeping with her and then this. No, but what I did hear Celeste's brother say that he tried telling the cops and they didn't have enough evidence to investigate it, according to him. So, yeah, I don't believe that. I think that's them trying to cover their own asses for all of this. I think they were shocked. This is what I think. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait to tell you what I think. First, let me go through the facts of the case. What are the facts of the case, okay? They charged David yesterday. First, they charged him with first-degree homicide. And I'm just going to talk about that. There were other charges, too, like the lewd and lascivious acts with a minor under the age of 14. He was charged with that too. But let's get into the first-degree murder charge, because that came with some special circumstances, okay? One, what were the special circumstances? The first special circumstances was that David was lying in wait for Celeste. In other words, he was planning on killing her and lured her there. That was like the first special circumstance. The second special circumstance was that he killed her for financial gain. Because, according to them, she was threatening to expose their sexual relationship. Like, she, was going to blow the lid off the whole thing and expose it, according to them. That's what they said. Why would she have to confront him in person for that? I don't know, but whatever. That's what they were saying. The third circumstance that they gave was that he murdered a witness to their investigation. Now, lawyers out there who come across this video, is that a normal special circumstance? In a situation such as this, that they had to add that on there? Like, I'm confused. I'm very confused about that. Maybe they'll prove that they were investigating him beforehand. I doubt it. I mean, I don't know. I just find it to be bullcrap. They didn't seem to care, like when they first found her. They wanted us to move on. They wanted us to forget about it. They told us that there was no proof that she was actually murdered. They told us that. It was really disrespectful, actually. It was very disrespectful, especially to her family. I'm not going to lie. And I know people are going to gaslight me because they're going to say, well, wait a minute. This could be a strategy that they're using, that like by telling us, well, we don't know she was murdered, and maybe they were investigating it anyway and just telling the public that. I'm sure people will use that argument. I still find it disrespectful to her family, very much so. I mean, that's just me. Here's what I'm kind of irked at right this moment. Why isn't anybody asking what UMG and Interscope's involvement is? And I will not be gaslighted about this. Here's why I think they're involved. A couple reasons. Or whether directly or indirectly. And I'm allowed to have opinion. I'm allowed to speculate on that. I obviously don't know. I mean, because I'm not there. I'm not part of any of this. Of that world at all. So I would have no way of knowing. I'm just speculating on what I'm seeing from the outside, okay? And here's what I see. I see a little girl who is mutilated, cut up, and tortured, right? They find her rotting, literally rotting and melting and oozing from decomposition. And then the police who find her try to gaslight us all and say there's no evidence that there was a murder. There's no evidence that there was a murder. And then they kick the can, keep kicking the can, no arrest being made, none of the sorts. They don't even name him as a suspect until, like a month or two ago? They didn't even name him as a suspect yet. So that's a big thing. No, it's not direct evidence that Universal or Interscope was involved. No, but it's suspicious to me because these organizations, these institutions do work with the police very closely. So I do find it suspicious. And considering David, he's like a relative nobody, relative outsider, very new in this, very brand spanking new, not any real meaningful connections yet, hasn't totally made a name for himself. Why were they running cover for him and protecting him so much these last 7 months? If this had been anybody else, I mean, they would have hesitated. They would have arrested someone right away. So, what was special about David? David, the guy from Texas. David, the YouTuber, or whatever he was before he got in the music industry. Whatever he was. He hasn't been in this industry that long. So, who is he to them that they would do this and run cover for him like this for all these months and all this time? And wait so long. Why did they give him such an ample opportunity to flee? Why? Why did they do that? I mean, yeah, they arrested him eventually, but it took them 7 months. He could have easily just fled. So why did they wait so long? I mean, that's a big thing. The second reason I say that I feel like more people need to be talking about Interscope and UMG, the second reason is the label executive. Now, I know that it's like a branch, right? Like you got UMG at the top, and then you got like Interscope, and then you got like Mogul Vision and so on. And it just goes down the corporate chain. But there was a record label executive who was questioned in the grand jury as to why they didn't call the police. Now, this was a conversation overheard by TMZ, so who knows if it's true. But and so this wasn't anything that they reported, and these grand jury proceedings are supposed to be secret. But apparently, he was asked why he didn't call the police, implying that he had some kind of knowledge that something foul was amiss. Now, that doesn't directly mean, I guess, that they were referring to Celeste's body. I don't know what else they could have been referring to, but whatever they were referring to something foul. And he clearly was just focused on David's tour. That was the first thing he thought to say. Right? Almost as if this kind of thing was normal to him. At least the way the TMZs made it sound. Now, they could have just made the whole thing up. But they really made it sound like if you actually, listening to that conversation take place, and they said, well, they just kept asking me why I didn't call the cops. And, I just told them I just wanted to get on with the tour. What is that? That tells me that this is something that is not surprising. You know what I mean? That this did not necessarily catch him off guard necessarily enough to question his whole existence and everything. He was so embedded that he was more worried about money and the tour than he was a rotting, decomposing body. I mean, allegedly. I mean, if that's what they were talking about. So, that's another big problem with me. I have a big problem with that. I have a huge problem with that. Another reason. Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought there was two. There was a whole nother reason why they need to be questioned and investigated. His album release date. You guys realize they narrowed her death or murder down to specifically April 23rd, 2025. Well, what is significant about that date in relation to D4vd? The very next day, his album dropped. So listen, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to like make any like to jump to any conclusions or anything like that, but this is worth looking into. Okay, in my opinion, this is definitely worth looking into. The police should be questioning UMG and Interscope. And let me bring us back to those special circumstances that they charged David with, D4vd with, and why I think it's interesting. Because if we lived in a hypothetical world where Interscope and UMG and Mogul Vision was somehow involved or did know something before everybody else, if that were the case, just hypothetically, come on, we're allowed to live in a hypothetical world just for a moment here. Just humor me for a minute, okay? Let's pretend that they did know and they did help David cover it up, right? We're just pretending. We're just playing pretend. It would explain everything. It would explain why it took them so long to arrest him. It would explain why they immediately wanted to gaslight the people on the internet investigating this and say that you don't know she was murdered. We don't know she was murdered. She could have just as easily overdosed. It would explain everything. It would explain all of the weird stuff that has not made sense about this case thus far. And maybe they finally just got to a situation where they are able to frame it the way they're framing it. That Celeste suddenly decided that even though she didn't love David anymore, and even though that she was talking to the police and cooperating with the police without her parents most likely the whole time, even though all of that was happening, she still decided to go to David's house the moment he invited her to go see him and confront him about it. Even though he was the one who invited her apparently and lied and wait for her, she was going to confront him about it that night. That's what they literally told us yesterday. The district attorney of Los Angeles with a serious face came out and told us yesterday that Celeste went on that night, April 23rd, 2025, to confront David about it and threatened to destroy his career. That's what he told us, right? Even though maybe he meant that David invited her after she confronted him on the phone. Like, baby, don't worry about it. Let's just come here. We'll talk about it. We'll work it through. Even though she allegedly is talking. This sounds like a movie. Like, she's talking to the police, and then she calls David, like, I got your number, David. You're going down, and I'm going to be the one to bring you down. And then he invites her over, and then she comes over and gets, I'm like, oh my God, this sounds like a movie. It sounds like a movie. It sounds like bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm allowed to feel that way. I mean, I have no way to know if it's bullshit or not, obviously. I'm just saying it feels like bullshit. And please don't misunderstand me. Obviously, I am happy they finally arrested David. That fucker belongs in jail. I want justice for Celeste. I want them to investigate this music company. I want to make sure there are no more Celeste ever again. I mean, not no more, but nothing, you know what I mean. That this situation never happens to another Celeste ever again. That's what I'm worried about now. You know what I mean? Yes, David's going to get his justice now, but let's really talk about things. Like, what led up to this? What caused this? Is he actually really just a baby psychopathic serial killer, and he just happens to know a whole bunch of homies that don't mind helping him cut up a body? Because that's totally normal. You go up to your friends and be like, hey, help me out with this body. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Or does it make more sense that the music industry actually has been doing this shit to kids all these years with these artists, making them sacrifice for fame, making them do all this stuff to, you know what I mean? I mean, is it eventually something like this was going to happen? If that is the case, like, we're still in the hypothetical world, eventually something like this would happen, that one of these rituals would get sloppy and the public would find out about it. Some cop who maybe isn't aware of all this stuff going on happens to tow a Tesla, go to the tow yard to a stinky Tesla one day, not knowing whose it is, because and find a body, and the next thing you know, everybody knows about it too quickly for them to cover it up. Maybe they just fucked up. Maybe they just made a mistake. If they do, I mean, the record exec. Yeah, I'm just making connections here that are obvious, that I feel like are obvious. I mean, no, I would really like to debate someone about this. Is this not obvious to everyone else? Is it only obvious to me? Are we actually really going to trust these prosecutors are actually going to like do right by Celeste? Do we really believe that? Honestly, after everything we've seen, do we trust them? I don't. Something doesn't sound right about any of this. The only thing that they got right was the first degree murder. Those special circumstances, though, like, what is that? Like, you can't have it. Was she going to confront him, or did he lure her there? Like, what is the deal? Anyways, questions that should be asked. Justice for Celeste. Justice for her poor family. People need to leave her family alone. I saw, and it wasn't just the mainstream media. These were like normal people with their influencers with their cell phones, just shoving their cell phones in these poor people's faces. Absolutely disgusting and appalling behavior. I've never been more embarrassed for humanity as I was when I saw all these people just shoving their phones in these people's faces. It was absolutely disgusting. It was disgusting. TMZ included, obviously, but everyone else that was doing it. Shame on all of you. Shame on all of you. Leave that family alone. They've been through it. Oh, my God. Anyways, yeah, they've been through a lot. And, oh, yeah, and that's another... Before I go, let's talk about that a minute. The absolute horrible PR campaign aimed against Celeste family. Like, when all of this was coming out. You all remember that? Like, all of them, they were all talking about, like, what would make a teenager run away from home? Like, you know what I mean? What would make her run away from home all that time? And, you know, she was missing for so long, and this and that and the other. And it was so appalling and disgusting. I could spot it right away what they were trying to do. And I don't know if that was David or if it was Interscope. I don't know. But it was somebody who was soulless and evil. I'm sorry, they were. Like, they couldn't even grieve in peace. They couldn't even grieve. Those poor people. I feel so bad for them. I feel so bad for them. Like, I can't even honestly dwell on them for too long without getting choked up. So, justice for her and justice for her family. May David rot in peace, and may we start asking questions about these companies and this music we listen to and all of this stuff that we give our money to and our energy and our attention to, and what's actually going on in this darkness. It's evil. It's evil, you guys. It's evil. But anyways, I hope you all have a good day.